Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sandlot Report, episode 61, I believe, here on the Majors TV. I'm actually not going to be your regular host. I'm Adam Hernandez. Usually Dorf is sitting in this seat, but Dorf's not here tonight. So instead, I'm sitting here with me, as always, the regular on the Sandlot Report, Sean Bell. Sean, I know it's been quite a while since we did one of these shows.
Yes, it has.
But we've got a lot to get to when it comes to the baseball trade deadline coming up here in just a couple of weeks. First, I kind of want to go over though what Manny Machado said just the other day. We just got done with the All-Star
Yes, we did.
break. American League won again.
Mm-hmm.
What was the final? Was it 2-1?
Yeah, it was 2-1.
2-1. Robinson Cano hit the go-ahead home run.
Yep.
I can't remember who did he hit it off of. Do you remember?
Oh man, no.
I can't remember either. Sorry to put you on the spot. Yeah. Robinson Cano won MVP. He won the he hit the game-winning home run, and great.
Yep.
Who cares? It was the All-Star game. The big story, though, perhaps one of the bigger stories coming out of the All-Star game was Manny Machado and his comments about baseball being boring, which is kind of ironic, Sean, because last week on the Majors Live, we talked about, making baseball great again. Yes. I know that phrase in and of itself is kind of, taking on a life of its own, considering Donald Trump used that in his campaign, his campaign slogan. But making baseball great again. I know too that was a slogan that Bryce Harper had, put on a bunch of hats. But we kind of talked about different ways that baseball could be better and maybe market itself more towards a younger crowd. A younger, more diverse crowd, because the argument that we were making was it's too focused on the old white guy, the white guy who's 50 years old and older, and that may not be the market in the demographic that baseball should be marketing itself towards. Maybe a piece of good news was the All-Star game having better ratings than the NBA All-Star game.
That was a huge plus for them.
That was a huge plus, and a lot of people are saying that the NBA is eating the MLB alive when it comes to ratings and just overall marketability with their players and the game itself. But Manny Machado, interesting comments after the All-Star game. This is what he said. When he was asked about, watching the game, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a little boring to watch. Machado said via Roach Kupa or Kubatko, whatever, from MASN. I don't know. It's a hard name to say. Further quote here. I don't know how people go out there and watch games. Now I know why sometimes people don't come to games, but it was nice. Sean, this is one of your bigger stars in Major League Baseball coming out and saying that the game itself is boring to watch. How does baseball take this and look at themselves in the mirror and think to themselves, like, what are we doing? Like, how is our format from here on out going to fix itself? How are we going to fix it? Because if we're not gaining any new viewers, any new fans, any younger fans, any more diverse fans, then you could make the assumption that we're not going to be around forever. The game itself is going to have to change and adapt based on all of this. If I'm a baseball executive, if I'm Rob Manfred, Sean, Manny Machado's comments there are going to concern me a bit.
It should concern you because, like you said, you got one of the best young players in baseball saying that the game is boring. I'm like, you don't want that.
No.
You want these guys like Manny Machado is a young, great baseball player that is in the MLB, that is your future of this sport, and you're having him tell you that it's boring. Yeah, you better get going on something and adapting to get these young crowd to back out here. Obviously, you're going to get the normal, typical older fans like you and I, but this young generation.
Hold on. We're not old. We're not old. We're just. Like I say, we are going to be baseball fans no matter what they do.
We're always going to be there. But the young generation nowadays, obviously, it's not the same as it was back then. So you need to figure out a way to get these kids, or even you could say some of our generations who are just trying to learn the sport now, to get out there to these games.
New fans.
Yeah, new fans, basically.
Whether you're 20, 30, 40,
yes.
I mean, you should always be trying to get new fans in the fold here.
Yes.
And it doesn't seem like baseball is really doing that.
No.
Now those numbers that we saw, those ratings that we saw, I think they did like a 4.5 or something like that, which is good.
Yes.
I mean, that could very well be returned fans who are just tuning in to see the All-Star game.
Yes.
I don't think baseball shouldn't be hanging their hat on one game, one exhibition game in the middle of the season.
No, every single game should be that exciting to watch.
Yes, it should be important.
Yes.
Take, for instance, tonight. We've got Yankees and Red Sox going on Sunday Night Baseball, the second game of a doubleheader.
Yes.
We've got Aaron Judge, who just won the home run derby, who's been tearing it up, the first half of the season for the Yankees. And he right now is heading into the second half. You've watched the majors live. One of the big things going to the second half is seeing how, he adapts to pitchers adjusting to him. If I was baseball, there has to be one of your guys that you're marketing the rest of the season around.
Yes.
He has to be in commercials. He has, the Yankees have to be doing everything that they possibly can to market this guy. And I'm not so sure if I trust baseball to do that, because they haven't been doing that.
No,
they haven't been doing that on a regular basis since Derek Jeter retired.
Right. To me, it seems like they're still trying to live off the vibe of Bryce Harper and Mike Trout, going head to head. It seems like they're still trying to create something out of it. It's like, no, you have so much more talent that's coming up, and it is probably, you could say, as good as those guys, and you're not marketing them. You're not putting them up there and say the face of this sport, and you need to. Like, for example, Aaron Judge. You could even talk about one of his his teammates, Gary Sanchez. You could look at Boston right now, Mookie Betts or Xander Bogaerts. They have to start marketing these guys. If they're not, they're just slowly killing themselves.
Mookie Betts is another one too, because you have another young guy there. Who isn't white.
Right.
He's a guy that could, they can go and help and, bring in a more diverse crowd. And same thing with a guy like Manny Machado too. Manny Machado is a guy that can really bring in, more Latin popularity, more of that Latin audience, which is something that baseball is, there's a ton of Latin players there, but again, I think baseball needs to start marketing themselves more towards the Latin feel of things, because again, last week we talked about it more on how when it comes to the atmosphere of the game, how the Latin atmosphere, it's just so much more different. It's so much more vibrant. It's so much more exciting than, perhaps the American version of baseball. The more toned down, the more serious, the less fun. I mean, the Latin atmosphere is almost like a party. It's like when you turn on, European soccer and you're watching, a Premier League game or a La Liga game or whatever, just that different atmosphere that you see, as opposed to turning on an MLS game and seeing, the LA Galaxy take on, Sporting Kansas City or something like that. It's just a different atmosphere. And if I'm Major League Baseball, I am taking these comments from Manny Machado, and I'm taking them seriously, because
you have to.
I'm not well, Sean. I'm not quite sure that baseball is really all that serious about making the game more exciting to the fans, because right now, I mean, they did do some things. There are. They got rid of the 4-pitch intentional walk. They're talking about putting on, they're talking about making a pitch clock. Now that's fine.
As a start, those two things, they have helped speed up the game, I guess, a little bit to make the fans enjoy the games. Yeah, obviously, the big problem was like, people are, a lot of the fans are going, the game's being played too long. It kind of needs to speed up a little bit. They're trying to work at that, but they need to do other things. They need to, like what we're saying, they need to market these guys. They need to, get that, that feel for baseball again, like what it was back in the day. That's what they want. They want, they want these kids to be coming to the game to enjoy it and to have fun. Obviously you could tell at a lot of these ballparks, they do a lot of things for kids and stuff like that, but they do it to, in my mind, to distract those kids, to make them want to come there to make money. But don't you want them there to watch the game?
Yeah. And that's a good point, Sean. In Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds,
batting cages to whatever, I'm like, that's all cool and fun for the kids, but it's like that's taking them away from the game. That's not letting them enjoy the sport.
Sure. I think if you're having to rely too much on Ferris wheels and batting cages and radar guns to see how fast you can throw, I think you're right. I think that's a problem. Now that's good for the owners and of that city to to make money off the fans that are there. However, in terms of the long-term health of the game and the long-term popularity of the game, I mean, you make a good point. Batting cages and merry-go-rounds and Ferris wheels aren't going to help anything.
No, it's not.
That's a good point, though. We'll probably have to take a look at this again, because I'm sure. Manny Machado isn't the first guy that, the first young guy that has come and said something like this. Obviously, Bryce Harper was the other big one that has made mention of baseball not being fun and it being too much of a old white guy sport, an old sport in general. So we'll take a look at this later on down the road. Sean, we're probably going to revisit this next week again, but when it comes to the MLB trade deadline, it's coming up at the end of the month. I think we still have another weekend to go.
Yes.
Buyers and sellers. We've got, we can go ahead and take a look at these different divisions here. Obviously, we're going to have, buyers. We're going to have teams that are going to be sellers, and we're going to have other teams that are going to be on, kind of on the, on the fence here. Obviously, the Red Sox are going to be buyers.
Yes.
Yankees are going to be buyers.
Yes.
They're sitting here 2.5 games out. Same thing with the Rays. What about a team like the Blue Jays, though? They're currently right now 8.5 out, and where are they in the wild card? They are 6 out in the wild card. Is that a team that you can really seriously look at right now and say, hey, you know what? They should probably be buyers at the deadline? Because right now it seems like that's a team right now that's really on the fence. I mean, we're hearing them possibly get in on, getting Alex Avila from the Tigers, or there's been other things too about them, possibly dealing Marcus Stroman. Where do you see the Blue Jays though heading into the heading into the trade deadline?
To be honest with me, I think they're going to be sellers.
Okay.
Having the way the Red Sox, Yankees, and Rays are playing in front of them, they have no chance. They still have the Orioles in front of them too. That's the thing, the Orioles are going to be fighting too with that. But Toronto, it is, in my mind, they don't have a chance. They really don't. They struggled so much with injuries at the beginning of the season. It just hurt them so bad to the point where it's like, should we start trading? Like, there's Batista, there's Tulowitzki. You could even look at Donaldson too, a guy that they might trade. Who knows?
There's been rumors about him going to the Cardinals.
Right. So that's the thing. In my mind, they have to be sellers, and in my mind, they have to make it now, and they can't do it later, because if they keep waiting later, the teams that are wanting to buy are going to be already trying to fill those spots. So I think Toronto needs to sell now.
What about a team like the Angels or the Rangers, who sit at 4 and 3 back respectively? And same thing with the Mariners. They're 3 back of the wild card right now as well. I mean, are those teams right now? Rangers came out and said too that if we don't have a better month, if we don't play with if we're not playing better, and I'm paraphrasing with the Rangers here, then they're going to go ahead and sell. But the Angels, the Rangers, and the Mariners, all of those guys, except for the Angels, are 3 games out. The Angels are 4. Are those teams that you can seriously consider you could see buying at the deadline? I mean, not to mention, it seems like the Angels themselves are going to have trouble bringing in anything, considering the way their farm system is pretty much decimated.
To be honest, I'm pretty sure like they are gonna, all those teams that you just said right there will sell.
Yeah,
in my mind, because the Astros in that division are already carried. They already won that division. There's no doubt about that. But with them only being, say, that's 2 to 3 or whatever 4 games you said, that's out of the second place wild card. And to be honest, to fight for that spot, there's so many teams out there fighting for that. They don't have really a chance, because you look at Tampa Bay and Boston and the Yankees. Those 3 teams, if they keep playing the way they are and they're going to go by, they're going to win the wild cards and that division. So they're going to be in the division and probably those 2 wild card spots. So to be honest, you look at it as like, you got to look at your future too. It's like, is it worth buying right now, or should I sell? Because, you did this bad this year with that team, and you say you bring in another starting pitcher, for example, or another hitter. Is that good enough for me next year to make the playoffs?
Okay.
So you got to look at that factors too. But in my mind, those guys are going to sell.
So you're saying you got to not only look at what's happening this year, but you got to kind of stay a step ahead of yourself.
It's like you're playing chess. You got to look a couple moves ahead.
Okay. It's a good point as well. Obviously, some of these bottom teams, Athletics made a move today, which we'll get to here in a second. The White Sox made a move the other day with Jose Quintana, which we'll get to here in a second. Kind of in the center, there's the Detroit Tigers. They sit 6.5 games back. White Sox are 9.5, and the Athletics are 6.5 as well. And again, both those teams made trades. You were speculating on the Majors Live that the Tigers are going to wait to the last possible second to decide what they want to do. And right now, they have a huge piece in JD Martinez that seems like is getting a just interest left and right.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm like what I said in our previous show. I really think that the Tigers, because the way they've been playing these 2 games that they came back so far from the All-Star game, they showed that they're coming out to win, and obviously that's what they did. They're playing a little bit better than what we saw before the All-Star break, and they're going to wait till the last minute, just like every single year that what the Detroit Tigers usually do, and more than likely will sit down, more than likely buy, because you have that kind of team that you built with, for example, for the hitting, you have Ian Kinsler, to Justin Upton, to JD Martinez, to Miguel Cabrera, to Victor Martinez. That's a team that you put out all that money into to win. So you look at, they're only, what you said, 6 games out?
6.5.
6.5 games out of the wild card. That's doable. You still have 80 games to go. I'm like, that's definitely doable. And especially with that division, the Central is not that good.
Well, it seems, and you're right, the Central isn't that good, but it seems like your only hope is the Central. I mean, you can't have that fallback, and
right.
with the wild card.
You're not falling back to the wild card. You're falling for that division because you have no chance. As for example, like we said, with the
AL East is too good.
Yeah, the AL East is too good. Boston, Tampa, and the Yankees are going to have those.
Yes, I agree. When you look at the NL side of things, it's definitely not as tight. I mean, you have the Diamondbacks with the first wild card spot, the Rockies with the second, and then you have the Cubs, who look like they're going to be buyers. And again, we'll get to that in a second. Sitting at 5.5 back, a half a game behind them is the Atlanta Braves, who seem to be
on fire lately.
They're on fire, but it also seems like they're getting ready to sell as well. They're 6 games back. The Cardinals, 7.5, and let me see where they are in their division. I think Milwaukee is leading the division.
Yes.
Okay, they're 6.5 back of their own division as well, and the Cardinals are sitting here talking about buying. When it comes to the Braves and the Cardinals, I mean, are these 2 teams that should be buying or selling?
In my opinion, they should be selling, But with the track record of, for example, the Cardinals, they've made the playoffs for how many consecutive years? They've always been that top team. Obviously a little bit of injuries hurt them this year, but they're coming back healthy, and they more than likely they will be buyers. Going to the Cubs, obviously they just won the World Series. They want to contend still. They have that young team. It's the exact same team except for Dexter Fowler, who's with the Cardinals now.
The Cardinals, yep.
They obviously just traded for Quintana for Chicago White Sox, and it's a huge bump in their rotation because how inconsistent that rotation's been, especially Jake Arrieta. Who knows with that guy right now? He's been playing up and down. The only consistent pitcher that they've had is
won the other day against his former team.
Right. And the only consistent pitcher that they've been having so far is John Lester, except for that other day when he got
blown up.
Yeah, he pitched 2/3 of an inning, but other than that, he's been pitching great.
Was it even that much? I thought he didn't make it out of the first inning.
Oh yeah, it was 2/3 of an inning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. I thought you said he's pitched two.
Yeah, no, it's 2/3 of an inning.
Sorry.
And then you look at Kyle Hendricks, who's been battling tendonitis in his right hand, but he's been doing rehab and he's coming back soon. But that's what they needed. They needed that guy who they can trust, and obviously it looks like they went and got Quintana. They gave up quite a bit for him, but it's a huge plus for them, and they're battling. They want that wild card spot. They know that they're not gonna more than likely win the division, but they need to make the playoffs. He's like, we just won the World Series.
Sure, you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could see how long. I mean, you don't have to tell the Cubs this, but it could be few and far between when it comes to these World Series.
108 years,
But beyond that, I mean, the Pirates, the Mets, the Marlins, the Padres, the Reds, the Giants, and the Phillies.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. I mean, right now you have the Phillies 21 games out of that wild card spot. So, and the Giants too.
Oh God.
I mean, the Giants, are they one of the most disappointing teams?
Well, yeah, you look at it, as much as Bumgarner missed the beginning of the season, stuff like that, there's no doubt they would be in that same situation if he didn't get injured on a dirt bike. Dirt bike, and be stupid about that, and he was still pitching the whole entire season. I guarantee they would maybe have 5 to maybe 10 more wins, maybe, but they would still be so far behind they have no chance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you?
They've been playing so awful. One pitcher is not going to carry your team like that.
One pitcher that pitches every 5 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good point.
That's just how I see it. I'm like, yeah, Bumgarner is a beast on the mound, and obviously when he's batting too,
and they're going to lose Cueto this offseason.
Exactly. So there's no doubt that they would be in the same situation they were if Bumgarner never got hurt.
All right. Well, finishing out the night, Sean, probably going to get back to that. Let me get my notes back up here. Finish things out for tonight. Francisco Rodriguez released by the Nationals. I mean,
that didn't last long.
It didn't. It did not
last long at all.
I thought it was going to last a little bit longer than it did. I don't know if he was kind of copping the same attitude there that he did in Detroit with that, that sense of entitlement that I'm Francisco Rodriguez. You should just give me the closing job. And it doesn't matter how I'm playing. But he was given a minor league contract with the Nationals.
Yes.
He wasn't given a big league contract.
He was given that minor league contract. It's like, go down there, prove that you can actually be back up here again. But obviously it didn't show. So
he didn't do enough.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Do you see him picking up with any other team, or do you think he's done?
Somebody's gonna pick him up for a minor league contract
again.
Yeah, basically, he's gonna get nothing but minor league contracts until he actually gets picked up by somebody and proved that he can actually pitch again. And it's not gonna happen. He's done in the majors, in my opinion, but he will get minor league contracts for sure.
That Washington Nationals trade, Sean Doolittle and Ryan Madison from the Athletics. How do you feel about that one for Washington?
I think they gave up too much for them, but they needed that bullpen help. And I think these two guys with the experience that they have is going to be a huge plus for that, because they need that experience for the playoffs, because Washington is going to be in the playoffs for sure, no doubt about it. And they need that help in the bullpen. Yeah,
and Washington too, it seems like every year they're one of those teams that you really have to be looking out for, but they just end up falling flat on their faces. So then finally the Cubs. seems like they're all in. They go out and get Jose Quintana with and they pay a heavy price for it.
Yeah, they did.
They give up a lot of guys. What are your thoughts? His debut today was excellent. 7 innings,
12 strikeouts.
12 strikeouts, 3 hits.
Yep, they won 8-0.
I mean, what do you think? I mean, do you think this was the right move for the Cubs, or do you think they maybe should have been playing a little bit more for next year as opposed to this year?
It's a good move because, like I said, with the comments that we were talking about just a little bit ago, it's going to bolster that bullpen. So not bullpen, starting rotation, which I think is going to help them next year, no matter what, too. Because the thing is, doesn't Arrieta, is this his contract year?
I would have to check on that.
I'm not 100% sure on that either. So I'm pretty sure it's going to help that out because in case they don't bring back Arrieta, and then the same thing with Lackey if he ends up retiring. At least you have a fallback guy to kind of get the job done.
Well, I'm not quite sure what Quintana's contract is.
Yeah, but the thing is, bringing him in, if he does good, if they make the run for the playoffs, he's going to want to stay because with the White Sox, he's so used to just losing all the time. Now he's on a contending team, so he might not want to go.
It's not like he has to move anywhere.
Exactly. He just moved about 5 miles north.
He just had he's taking a different train. Anyway, so that's going to do it, though, for this week's edition of the Sandlot Report. We'll be back again next week. So stay tuned for that. We may be even live next week, so you may want to check out our Facebook page at TMSNX, or check us out on Twitter at The Majors TV, and on YouTube, youtube.com/The Majors TV. So, anyways, for Sean, I'm Adam. We'll see you guys later.